USF Go!
Hello, sports fans. I'm your host, Quinn Lowe.
And my name is Antoine Jackson.
And we're here for Between Classes Sports. Tonight we'll be talking about the recap of the USF versus Louisville game.
Not a pretty sight.
Right. This is a game that for many of the Bulls fans, they knew it was going to be a tough game, but they did not expect it to be this bad.
It was a pretty tough game for the Bulls. As far as the defense looked pretty solid. The offense is still trying to, like Willie Taggart said, get on the bus. But the defense was okay. But at the same time, what do you think about Teddy Bridgewater?
Teddy was Teddy. I was talking to a lot of people in the press box, and that was the one thing that really stood out: his poise, his control in the pocket. And a lot of people automatically assume that Teddy is a mobile quarterback because they tend to lump black quarterbacks all in that same category. Teddy is a quarterback that looks to pass first and runs when it's needed. And even when he's running, he's still looking to create opportunity. The one thing I did notice that a lot of the Bulls players, especially the Bulls defenders, mentioned in the press conference was the willingness to go to his check down.
Right.
How important do you think that is in the offense, and why don't you think that the USF quarterbacks, who we had 3 or 4 in this season, struggle so much with that?
I don't know. I won't just say USF quarterbacks. Let's just say quarterbacks in Tampa, including Mike Glennon.
Right.
And Josh Freeman. I mean, he's not here anymore, but Teddy, when I seen Teddy, the precision, the guy's a real surgeon out there on that field, guys. I mean, to see him in person really throwing in the bread basket, the mechanics. I don't know if you can coach that type of stuff. I mean, to a certain extent, but maybe they should go to the Teddy Bridgewater camp. I don't know.
Right. That was one thing that Todd Chandler in the interviews was saying, that he played with Bridgewater in high school down in Miami, and he said that guy has been the same way now that he was even in high school. So that kind of leads to the techniques and everything that everyone that he has been in touch with as far as his quarterbacking has been able to give him the right foundation. But too much. This is a Florida, Tampa area sports show, so I'm not going to give too many accolades to Teddy. But let's focus on that USF defense, because while he was able to get some passing yards, the defense did generate some pressure and were able to get some sacks.
Teddy took some shots. I mean, the defense definitely tried to intimidate, rough him up, let him know that this was the Floridians. So Teddy knew what he was up for, but you know, you can't get a guy the ball that many times. You know, the defense was out there extended amount of times. It's high, not to make excuses because it's football, but when you keep giving Teddy the ball time and time again, eventually he's going to find a way to, you know, slice you up, and that's what he did to the defense, basically.
Right, and I kind of go back to that game when they struggled against UCF. UCF was able to ball control. UCF was able to run the ball, and that's one thing with Marcus Shaw. And the rest of the USF running backs weren't there. They're down to a freshman running back. You really can't depend on that. You see that they ended up burning the red shirt on the young quarterback and bringing him in. And USF really is at their wits' end offensively. So
I'm concerned about who is the offensive coordinator right now. If we want to find out who he is, you know, who is the offensive coordinator, you know?
Not offhand, but I'll find that out for you.
It looks like with the offense, it looks like that. So we need to see what's going on. Hopefully Willie can get that together. Because that offensive coordinator, if he doesn't get some type of first downs, we don't want touchdowns. Let's get some first downs.
Some ball movement.
Something.
And I think that's the biggest frustration that I've seen coming from, whether it's Evil, whether it's Bench, even the young guy coming in. They haven't been able to move the ball. And I think the frustration now that is building now is because the wide receivers don't trust the quarterback. They're starting to be lackadaisical in their skill set, so they're dropping balls that normally wide receivers will catch.
Probably surprised it got there.
Right.
They're surprised, which is not an excuse because they're on scholarship now. You guys are on scholarship. But it's not an excuse to drop the ball, though.
And it's going to be a frustrating couple of next games, especially with them going down to Reliance Stadium and Houston having to take on the Cougars, who are 6-1 and are actually a couple of plays away from being undefeated this season. They have some stars down there. Their quarterback is a freshman, so once again, that speaks to that those who say, "Oh, you can't have a freshman lead you." Yes, you can. Look at Jameis Winston. Look at Christian Hackenberg out in Penn State. They have a guy by the name of, let me get this name correctly, John O'Corn. For the season, he's passed for 1,858 yards, 19 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. And this is that high octane Houston offense that even with Kevin Sumlin no longer being there, they've kind of continued that success. And they also have a 5-star receiver, Deontay Granberry, who was once committed to Notre Dame as their star receiver as a freshman. He has 58 receptions for 842 yards already. And when you look at what USF has been struggling with going back to the Miami game, what was the Miami Hurricane offense able to do? Get the ball,
downfield.
And that's the one thing that really worries me going into this game. They when you don't have the pressure that they need, or don't have have the trust in the offense to keep everything going, you're going to take some chances defensively, and those chances may backfire sometimes.
And it's going to be a test for Houston. It's going to be a test for USF because Houston, they're on an emotional high right now. They're going to be in Texas home Thursday night. Florida-Texas game, rivalry, slightly because of where the states are from. And Houston's not going to have any love for USF when they get off that plane. It's going to be back to business. They're going to try to get very physical with them. I won't be surprised to see some explosive plays. So the USF cornerbacks and safeties, they better be ready. But if you have a freshman quarterback, if he's protected by an offensive line that can give him some time and, he can get a little comfortable back there, like you said, anything is possible, but you got to protect the quarterback.
The only thing I will kind of caution with the Houston Cougars is they may be looking beyond the USF Bulls because they have a game and coming up against the second-tier premier team in the state of Florida, UCF Knights. This could very well be that game that decides the American Athletic Conference, because with UCF having beat Louisville, they have a game up on them. So if UCF or even Houston can win that game, that kind of puts that team in control.
Now, mind you, USF is still 2-1 in the conference.
True.
So if they win, they can go to 3-1 and be in a nice favorable position. It's not impossible, but
I'm just not sold on that offense, and I think that's the problem.
We've seen it a lot,
and that's the biggest thing, that until they find a consistent quarterback play, that's always going to be their Achilles heel.
How do you think recruiting will be for USF? It's going to be tougher to recruit this year, or what do you think?
I think that it's getting better, but it's just now a matter of keeping the right players. But we're up against a break, so now let's look and see how the local Tampa schools are going.
Yeah, see how they're doing out here. Great job, Tampa. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back to discuss some must-see football games and this week conference by conference.
We're back. Once again, I'm your host, Quinn Lowe.
And Antoine Jackson here.
And now it's time to get into some of the national games this weekend. The first up, we're heading up north to the Big Ten. My old stomping ground. The University of Michigan heads to East Lansing to take on their bitter rivals, the Michigan State Spartans. This is going to be a tough game for my Wolverines, and I'm going to be biased. I'm trying not to take it too hard, but I really think that Michigan State's defense is going to be the deciding factor in this game.
Good defense.
The whole season, Michigan has been struggling with any type of team that has punched them, so to speak. And like you said, how we discussed and how we talked about USF and some of the other programs being aggressive defensively, that's the one thing I can give credit to Coach D'Antonio and the Michigan State program. They are very aggressive. They almost to the point where a lot of teams look at them as being somewhat dirty, but that's college football. You want your players to be on that line without necessarily having to go over. The key for Michigan this upcoming game is to make sure that Devin Gardner does not turn the ball over. In the game against Penn State in College Valley, they had too many turnovers, and it's hard enough playing on the road. So with that turnover ratio, they got behind the 8 ball and they had to go outside of their normal patterns, which opened the door up for the blitzing and the different looks that the defense gave them. And Penn State's defense is nowhere near the caliber of Michigan State's. And this is, as we always know, you'll be able to talk about in a couple of minutes when we get into the Miami Florida State game. Rivalry games, you throw out the records, you throw out everything that you're used to talking about up until that season, and you have to focus on these are guys that have played each other in preps, played each other in Pee Wee, and they're used to seeing their tendencies, they're used to seeing what they can and what they can't do. So the key for Michigan is making sure that they establish the run game. They don't want to get into a situation where they can't run the ball and they have to rely solely on the passing game. Yes, Jeremy Gallon had a 300-yard receiving game a couple of weeks ago against Indiana, but this is not Indiana's defense. If Michigan State, with Connor Cook, who replaced a couple of different quarterbacks, and I guess nationally it's a matter of finding that right quarterback. USF hasn't found theirs, but teams like Michigan State, Florida has been able to find their quarterback. And Connor Cook up there is a pretty steady young guy. He showed out last week against Illinois, had some great stats, and that's been allowing that program to get back into that mix where it's a good run-pass balance, and it allows the defense to be even more aggressive, because there were times at the beginning of the season where Michigan State, if their defense didn't score, they weren't going to score. We can even reference back to the USF game. USF, I honestly believe if USF would have had
Purdue too, they didn't score. They only had 14 against Purdue.
Yeah, and truthfully, they scored one touchdown in that Purdue game on a defensive touchdown. Then the offensive touchdown was a trick play. It was a double pass reverse. So it really wasn't a matter of a conventional offense. So if you can get them out of their comfort zone, which is going to be hard because Michigan's defense has been struggling as well, because they gave up 40-plus points against a very good but still young Indiana offense. So there's a lot of questions in this, and do not hang me out to dry for this, Wolverine fans. I have to go against my favorites today. I'm going to go ahead and pick Michigan State. Yeah, it hurts. And this is going to be a close game, but it's going to be very low scoring. I can see the score being 20-17, and Michigan State holds on after a late barrage of points by Michigan, and it's not going to be enough.
Michigan fans are disgusted with you right now.
But I got to call them like I see them. This is a sports show. I got to take the bias out.
I'm just tell you before you leave, they disgusted with you right now.
Hey, the truth hurts.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But
it always will.
But before we get to your game, we got to talk about this SEC matchup that used to be one of the biggest games, and probably still is one of the biggest games in the state of Florida, in this region. But the luster has come off of because of how the two programs have started and are right now, and what they used to call the largest cocktail party in the world. Florida versus Georgia in Jacksonville.
It's going to be an interesting matchup. Like you said, lost a little bit of luster, a lot, actually. These guys, they come in with high expectations, but usually it's never to the point where if one year Georgia's really good, Florida may be down a little bit. Next year, Florida may be really good, Georgia may be down a little bit. The team that's expected to win, usually in the rivalry, when they come in highly ranked, people pretty much know who's going to win this one. If they say Georgia's going to win, Georgia's going to win. Right now, I don't want to go against Gator Nation. But with Todd Gurley coming back, the way the Gators have been looking lately, I hope the Gators win, but I'm going to roll with Todd Gurley because, that's...
And I understand where you're coming from, because Gurley, before he went down with the injury, was running like a man possessed.
Some people say they thought that he was maybe the top running back in the nation. I don't know if he's the best running back in the SEC. You still have James Davis' little brother over there in South Carolina. He's nice.
Yeldon out in Alabama. There's still some guys out there.
Yeldon's my slight favorite. And then you got the guy Jeremy Hill from LSU too.
So I think that's the one thing about the SEC. They're loaded, regardless whether you're looking at the quarterback position, all the way back down to the defensive back position. So, but I still, if Gurley is healthy, I have to give them the edge, because
no Dominic Easley.
Right, and that gives some balance back to Aaron Murray in that Georgia passing game, even though they're still down to their top receivers. That at least makes the Florida Gators defense stay honest.
What you think about Muschamp? Is he in trouble? Is the seat boiling? Is it boiling? Is it boiling right now? Are the eggs
it's
boiling?
Starting to get hot.
Is it Easter right now? Are the eggs boiling?
But I think Gator Nation will give them a reprieve because of the injuries. Except for at quarterback because they were kind of, and this sucks that you have to say this, but they're actually kind of glad to see Tyler Murphy back there in the backfield. Yeah, now, if they had the defenders and their running backs that they're used to having, then I think they would be more upset. But considering that injuries are part of the game, and some people, I'm not sure how serious this is, some people were still hinting at Muschamp being one of the prime candidates for that Texas job. Because he has a relationship. That's the only reason why I'm saying. Not because he's earned the position or his record has shown anything different. It's that, oh, he's part of this family. We want somebody that knows the Texas way. But there's also rumors that, and I don't quote me on this yet, fans.
Word on the street.
But, yeah, great way to put it.
Word on the street.
Nick Saban was out home shopping in Austin.
His wife.
So,
not Nick, but his wife, and y'all know how the ladies can get.
And thank you.
She was shopping.
The wife and the kids normally dictate these coaches' house homes. Remember what happened with Urban Meyer? Well, if you don't know, it was his family that told him to pull back, not him.
But Saban will leave. We know Saban has left Michigan State. He's left LSU. He's left the Dolphins.
And this is a situation.
He will leave for people. He will leave.
And this is a situation where they're talking about $10 million plus. And you're the top dog in the state of Texas. You don't have to worry about the SEC. You don't have to worry about LSU anymore. You don't have to worry about Florida. All your prime competition is Oklahoma.
Do you think he leaves? Do you think he can leave?
Right now, I give it a 30% chance. But it's still, as we get closer, the deciding factor, I think, is if he wins the national championship this year, that kind of puts him in a situation where he has to think, what else do I have to do here? Because I don't think he'll ever catch Bear Bryant. But he's in a position where now, if he goes to the state of Texas, the state is his. Even with Texas A&M being in the SEC.
But what happens to Alabama if he goes to Texas? Riots.
No, I think they'll be okay. Because they've already established a situation. If they are a smart program, they would name Kirby Smart, play on the words, the head coach. Because he's been there just as long as Saban on that staff, and he knows what's the Saban way. So if he can kind of keep everything going, the only thing I think that may take a step back are those top 3 recruiting classes. They may not get everybody. Now they may drop back to maybe a top 5, top 8 recruiting class because.
To Texas, though.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the thing because everybody. While Alabama is a great program, a lot of those guys went there because what Saban did. I'm not sure how many of you guys saw that picture where he had the checks of every rookie that he had sent to the pros. That's Saban, not Alabama, because he did it at LSU and he did it at Michigan State. So these guys, if he does bolt to greener pastures in Austin, they will follow him.
They have to.
And
money trail.
And truthfully, Texas doesn't have to get beyond the state to recruit. You can get.
A scary thought now.
So it's one of those things where I really think it's still too soon to even talk about that, but Muschamp, getting back to the topic, Muschamp has to be somewhat looking at that position because Florida is one step away from dropping off that top tier map. The one thing they don't want to see is have your boys down in Coral Gables.
We coming though.
Get right. Because right now
Miami's gonna get right regardless. So.
Florida is the number 2 team in the state with Miami 2.5 seconds right behind them.
We slapping them up, right?
Right. So that victory early in the season proved that and showed a lot of the national fan base that this program has the potential to get back to what they used to be.
Well, I know with Muschamp, he's trying to go to a more run-regulated type of offense and kind of taking out some of the spread, which I've noticed a lot of colleges, successful colleges, have some type of spread offense involved. I think Michigan has a little bit of
spread variation.
Alabama has a couple plays there. Florida doesn't really want to go to the spread, and I think in the meantime that's kind of hurting them because when you have receivers that you're not even trying to get these guys the ball. See, like Quentin Dunbar I think is a great. I think you'll see him on the next level easily. But he's on the college level. He can't even. Deontay Thompson couldn't really get the ball, but he's on the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
So sometimes a player may not play a lot in college, but they can make it to the NFL due to the system they're in. So Muschamp only really want to go to the run. I mean, if this is not successful, he may have to start maybe implementing some spread or figuring out something because he cannot continue to be in the state of Florida and not having any type of passing offense or the receivers not getting the
Right.
ball.
And speaking of a team that has done a great job of working with what they have and implementing the true superstars at running back and wide receiver, it's time to get into this game. The primetime game, top 10 matchup.
Creme de la creme.
Your boys down at the U
For a reason.
versus Florida State. What are your thoughts on that, Antoine?
First of all, I'm very disgusted with Florida State fans right now. Just a little disgusted.
Why is that?
With the behavior.
Okay.
You know, even though I know we got a national audience, you know, I feel like don't get brand new because we got some company in the house, you know.
True.
There's some new people in the building, you want to act new like you don't know us.
Right.
Okay, first of all, we've been slapping you up. I mean,
True.
don't get me wrong, they've won the past couple of years, but how many times have we... both of us are top 10. You're 3, we 7. Both of us are undefeated. Saturday night at 8 o'clock, don't think we're in here making pancakes, okay? We're
Right.
coming to play.
And it's interesting that you say that because the people out in Vegas
Yeah.
have thoroughly disrespected Miami. This is
wet slap in the face.
a 21-point underdog for a top 10 team is unheard of.
That's
This
biggest
is,
spread in top 10 history, Vegas history.
and I think this is one of the things. I have to think that they saw what they did, the Seminoles did against Clemson, and expect the same thing. But I don't think this is the same caliber squad. I think Miami has enough on both sides of the ball, especially with Duke. Because if push come to shove, if they do nothing but run Duke, they'll be in the game in ball control.
Oh, you know that's what we're coming with. It's not a secret what the recipe is. If our offensive linemen get to the second level to these hybrid linebacker corners and safeties, we're going to cut the lawnmower on. And the grass, you know what time it is.
Oh, definitely.
So, but Florida State, no disrespect. They got their nice team. They look explosive. They've been here, Jimbo Fisher. No disrespect to the fans, but when you say that you're playing against Oregon to see so you can be ranked higher, you got a game Saturday at 8 o'clock.
And that's the worst thing that you could ever do. And a lot of fans were relieved to see the fact that they did not look past NC State last week, considering the troubles and the issue that they have had with their program in the past.
It was a revenge game.
I think that speaks to the level of focus that the Florida State program does have this year, because they realize this is their chance. Everybody is hitching their wagon to the Florida State Seminoles, saying that this may be the only program that can knock down the ugly SEC, the bad SEC, and the bad boys in Alabama. Because I've heard some fans mention Oregon, but some people still do not trust Oregon. They're too much of an East-West team, and when somebody punches them in the face, because even with the UCLA game last week, they hung with them. It's just
fight for a minute.
Yeah, so I really want to see what Oregon does against Stanford in a couple of weeks, which is coming up. But I really think because of the athletes that Florida State has on every level, from the defensive line to the defensive backfield, from the offensive line to the quarterback position with Jameis Winston, he gives them a option that Alabama hasn't seen since camp.
Yeah. Now Jameis is a spectacular quarterback. Don't get me wrong. When I first seen the kid play against Pittsburgh, I was impressed. We were at the home, me and a couple Hurricane fans, and we were scratching our head like, boy, we got a problem.
Right, and I'll take it back even further. The first glimpse I got of this young man was, I think, in 2011 at the Under Armour game. I was on the field getting some shots and stood next to this monster. I'm thinking, okay, who is this defensive back, this linebacker? No, this is the quarterback. And I'm like, for real?
Wow.
And not to mention, this guy is a top baseball prospect, so he has the cannon attached to his arm. So it's just one of those things. If Miami can make this guy realize he's still a freshman,
we got to get to him. We got to touch him. Some kind of way he has to be touched.
So I think whoever wins that turnover battle will put themselves in a better position, because your quarterback, while he's nice, and I love his deep ball, I will give you that. I love his deep ball. But that game against North Carolina, primetime game, he showed his butt.
He almost threw 6 interceptions.
Right. So
4 official interceptions. Right. 2 dropped by the defenders.
And it's funny that both our teams are dealing with the same thing. Quarterbacks that have so much talent but struggle with turnover.
I mean, Stephen Morris threw 1 interception like he was throwing a grenade.
Yeah, I remember that.
He just threw one and chucked it. I'm like, now, Steve, I'm a grown man, but Steve, come on now. I know you're young, but come on, Steve. You can't do that, Stephen.
And that's where it's important for Al Golden and the rest of the Hurricane staff to make sure that they put this boy in a position for success. Because this is going to be a hostile environment up in Tallahassee.
Very.
And they cannot. The first drive is going to be the telltale sign.
And the sanctions have been lifted off of Miami also. So it's not like we don't have anything to play for. They just got cleared by the NCAA.
Right. So this is an opportunity.
We're already bowl eligible,
right,
which is great. Some people have us projected at the Peach Bowl. And this is not the only chance we have to play for the state. Mind you, after this, Miami has Virginia Tech. But if Miami can run the coastal side, if Florida State is as good as I say they are, we'll see them again in Charlottesville.
And,
so don't think it's
and truthfully, after what happened with Virginia Tech last week losing to Duke, I would be disappointed as a casual observer of the program if they don't make it to the ACC championship.
So would I.
So
I'll be disgusted.
But like I did with the Michigan State game, what is your prediction in the game?
Miami.
Oh, so he like me.
Miami wins the game.
So
what's the score? I don't know. 24-21. I don't.
Now we know it's not gonna be that low.
We might blow them out if they come here playing with us like it's a game. But I don't know. It'll be a close score.
But I can't blame him. Spoken like a true Homer fan, he's gonna ride and die till the wheels fall off. I mean, quietly, I'm going to go back to my boys. I have an ounce of hope if they don't turn the ball over, it's going to be a good game. And I can see Michigan pulling out. Boys, and trust me, even though I picked them to lose, I will still be cheering Go Blue the whole night.
You will be watching.
So, definitely. So it's just one of those things where I have.
You're just trying to brace yourself. So just in case I told myself.
Correct. I don't feel bad when it turns out ugly.
I understand. We'll be right back, people.
Now it's time for the end of the show. And tonight, we're going to be ending this pretty quick because while we are college sports fans, tonight is the night that the NBA returns.
The NBA is back.
3 games on the docket. First up, Indiana Pacers versus the Orlando Magic. This game is an eye-opener for those fans who are looking for somebody else to dethrone the Heat. I would say that this is going to be one of those teams, but with Danny Granger going back down with another injury.
He went back down?
Yes. Just heard this a couple of days ago. He's down with another injury, which could sideline him for a couple weeks.
Blankstare.com.
Right. That kind of puts them back into the pack, whereas before the injury, I had them as substantially that number 2 team coming out the East. Or
do you think with Danny Granger, you think this injury is more serious than what they want to say? Because he's been out for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, he played it. I think he played 5 games last year before he shut it down. But I think it's a totally different and related injury.
Is it damaged goods?
I think so, and this is the one thing that you're anytime you're dealing with an athlete, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, once they go down with injuries and start kind of being a recurring thing, you kind of you don't want to wash your hands of it, but you got to cut your losses sometimes. The Pacers have guys that understand where they fit in. You know, Paul George is the go-to superstar. David West is that cleanup, that force in the middle. Security guy. Roy Hibbert is that guy that can give you some 10, 15 rebounds a game, a couple of block shots. But I heard you mention earlier a name that was really one of the most quiet-kept acquisitions of the season. Louis Scola coming off the bench.
Scola's a monster. On the low, he's a monster.
So, and that's the one thing I think with the Pacers, they have to keep that bench tight. Orlando, we're bringing in a Victor Oladipo era.
Ricky Sensation.
Right. So
Mr. Excitement himself.
A lot of people are already calling him to be the Rookie of the Year. Orlando is in that transition. They're still trying to recover from the aftermath of the Dwight Mayor. I think they did work out better than a lot of teams, a lot of fans expected them to, because look at the Lakers. No more Dwight Howard. Look at the 76ers. No more Andrew Bynum. The only team that still has pieces left from that trade is Orlando. And they put themselves in a position to, maybe not this year, and maybe not even next year, be back on that climb to get back into the playoffs.
Magic fans don't want to hear that 2 years.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, when you get to that mountaintop or get to that pinnacle of being in the NBA Finals and coming up short against the Lakers and having an opportunity like that and having one of the most premier players in the league, you want to go back. You want to always be there.
Would you blame management for Orlando, how things were handled, or they just had bad luck?
That was just bad luck, because I think that was Dwight trying to get up out of there. Dwight really didn't want to be there, so it's just one of those things.
Why do the players never want to stay in Orlando? T-Mac, Shaq.
I couldn't tell you, because I would. I mean, you're in no state taxes, you're in sunny weather, if you get the right combination, I'm the type of player I'd rather bring the talent to me.
Yeah,
So
Orlando's a beautiful place too.
right. But
the night, also, you know, along with that, we got the Heat play the Bulls. The return of Derrick Rose. D Rose is back. The ring ceremony with the Miami Heat. Also, congratulations to the champs, back to back, looking to push for number 3. But I must be honest with you guys. I do like watching D Rose play.
Definitely.
He is very, very phenomenal.
And this is going to be a motivating factor for him, seeing these guys get their rings. And considering the fact that the last 2 of the 3 years, the Bulls were put out the playoffs by the Heat, this is the opportunity for them to say, okay, we saw you get this, but we're coming for you.
D Rose has a bad attitude. I don't know.
Oh yeah, and that's what you gotta have.
You better have that though.
So I mean, tonight's gonna be a nice night to kick off the season. We'll from time to time check in and make sure that you college sports fans always know what's going on in the pros. So time to call it a night.
Call it a night.
Thanks again, all you viewers and all you fans that love us, hate us for the Michigan stuff, hate us for the Miami stuff. But you still come back.
It is what it is, guys. And I take care.
Nice.